Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Will's Weekly Wonders. This week we'll be looking at WhatsApp data and how we can analyze that. So this Monday, like many of you I'm sure this week, I went and met up with some of my old uni friends. We've known each other since first year and lived together all the way from second year onwards. We were having a debate around who was the most positive and generally who was the most negative in the group. Now, that chat got a little bit escalated after a couple of beers, but I thought, why use opinions to settle this when we can use data instead? So I've taken some WhatsApp extracts from our group chat and used Alteryx to go ahead and analyze them. So the WhatsApp groups are conveniently named 9GG. Here you can see where we first lived together back in Bristol all those years ago. And at the start, I've got a couple of different input files due to the nature of people changing names, changing groups, and one unnamed member getting hacked. There's a couple of different input files to be working with. Now, from WhatsApp, you get some text information here that's not particularly useful. So 102,000 records coming through there. But with the help of a WhatsApp cleaning macro that I've been working on, we can then get all of that information presented in a much more usable format. So everything from the dates, the month, who's written the message and what the message entailed. Some crucial information on Wilfred Bonney scoring his first goals. Now, as we progress through, a lot of the analysis that I wanted to do utilized the text mining capabilities of Alteryx. So the sentiment analysis, which allows you to understand whether what people are writing is positive, negative, or neutral, but also going on to some of the text pre-processing and building of word clouds to understand perhaps what people are saying, what they often talk about, and get a greater feel for maybe a bit of their personality as well. The final part of this analysis was also looking at creating some time series plots to understand when we've been speaking over the last sort of 10 years, and perhaps if there is any seasonality. So off the back of this, a couple of reports were produced. And to begin with, we'll start with looking at that time series plot. So here I can see documented all of our messages. So the last data point we had from 2014 and all of the messages all the way up to the present. So a couple of low points. So January 2017, not much messaging going on, but really peaking around the summer of 2018, perhaps unsurprisingly with one of the best summers we've ever had. I'm sure we all remember England's journey. But then looking at if there's any seasonality to when we're messaging as well. March looking particularly strong, perhaps tails off during August and September. But again, a good way to understand when people are talking, perhaps there's birthdays coming up, events are being planned, and so on. The second piece of analysis then was to understand who are the most positive people within the group, and the big result showing that, much to their annoyance, that I am in fact the most positive in the group. So 8.3% of my messages coming through with positive sentiment, all the way down to Ali at the bottom, just 6.2% of his messages coming through as positive, perhaps unsurprising that he supports Stoke. On the right-hand side, we've then got a chart just to provide a bit more visual for that table you can see. The second piece then is building of those word clouds. Now, as I mentioned, 9GG, the name of the group, here we can see all of those words most frequently used by all 6 of us within the chat. And you can start to get a bit of information about what we're doing, some great information, great, mate, a bit of love in there as well, some talking about Ravi as well. And then down at the bottom, we've got those words that I'm most frequently using, again, in the format of my name. So here we can see, and perhaps unsurprisingly, if you joined last week, a lot of chat about Reading from me, and perhaps some information on their performance following through down at the bottom as well. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an introduction to how you can start analysing your friendships, providing everybody with a bit more information for those arguments next time you're all down at the pub. I'll be releasing a bit more information of this and access to the macros and the workflows, but please feel free to message me with any ideas you've got, add any comments, and I'll be happy to get back to you. Enjoy your weekends.